So imagine that after you walk out of this building, you come across a time machine and it takes you back 500 years or so. What would you do? And who would you be? Consider a Renaissance fair, except instead of watching the entertainment, you are the entertainment. So I'd like to present you the Society for Creative Anachronism, or SCA. We are a global nonprofit that research and replicates pre-17th century history, combat skills, and culture without all the gross things like bubonic plague, or poor plumbing, or burning women for being witches. God forbid we have hobbies. And when my husband first introduced me to the SCA, I was in shock. One, because a bunch of grown adults, just like me, got to dress up and swing swords at each other, and that was a genre of nerd that I had not unlocked for myself. But two, they were living authentically, and they were finding what they were capable of because they tried. And we are not these guys, believe it or not. There is some crossover with LARPing. We do have personas. We do hit each other with sticks. There's general shenanigans in the field. But the SCA takes history and authenticity very seriously. So much so that we have divided our world into kingdoms. So there are 20 different kingdoms across the globe. You can see how North Carolina and some of these states kind of fare in that round. But these kingdoms have members from all over, and the membership really informs what our research looks like and how we practice that research. So for example, a group of SCA folks got together and said, you know what? 16th century Ottoman Empire is very fascinating. Why don't we recreate the Janissary band that was actually abolished 200 years ago? And a lot of that history and data was lost. But through their extensive research, mainly looking at paintings like this, they were able to recreate that tribe. And now there's actually a documentary about it. And the SCA really brought me out of my shell because what the SCA does is it grounds you in curiosity. So you're following the what ifs or the I think I could do that. And usually whatever hobby you have, there's some kind of medieval application for it. So here's my husband cranking his ballista, and I will not rephrase that. One of his hobbies is getting into fights, but that's kind of frowned upon in the mundane world and sometimes illegal. So what he does is he puts it into a historically appropriate context or application. So we're about to enter heavy armor fighting, where hundreds, sometimes thousands of grown people take the field adorned in full armor, swinging sticks at each other and just having a grand old time. And it is unscripted combat, which means they are fighting each other, but using medieval tactics and techniques, which is very interesting. But maybe you want a little more finesse and a fewer concussions. So fencing might be for you. It's the art of stabbing your friends politely while having Inigo Montoya, you've killed my father, prepared to die kind of vibes. You'll learn the different stances between epee and foil, different fighting styles, and learn that a cape makes a really great offhand. Now, my weapons form of choice is archery, and I picked up archery a little over a year ago, and I've since placed second in my first competition. Crazy. There's only 2 of us. I'm just kidding. But I wouldn't have been able to pick up this skill without the support of the SCA. It was something I had never considered. But I took the chance and got out of my shell. And there's no other place to learn more skills than in classes. And I found, actually, through classes, that 14th century German brick stitch is something I'm really fascinated with. But I also picked up drop spindling and wood burning and Iron Age finished temple ornaments. It's a crazy world out there. But that embroidery actually supports my persona, which is 14th century German. And I chose 14th century one. That was a banging period across the world. A lot's going on. But 2, German to honor my heritage. But your personas can be as detailed or as minimal as possible, and the point is to explore. And so I explored embroidery in more detail, and so my research area is opus anglicanum and goldwork embroidery, and I find that super fascinating. But the SCA is a gateway drug into 20 hobbies you didn't know you needed. So yeah, there's a lot going on in my house, and I don't have time for it. But maybe arts and sciences or combat isn't your thing, but urban planning is. Welcome to camping with a bunch of strangers who quickly become your chosen family. When you camp, you learn how to share resources, manage shared spaces,
and make an efficient camp plan that the fire marshal would approve of. It is a 20-foot radius between your fire pit and your nearest structure, just FYI. And when you're camping together, you eat together. And so we have something called Feast, where volunteers recreate real pre-17th century dishes that are so good. And it's really a great way to join in with your community. But we can't do this alone because we are a nonprofit that's run by volunteers. So we choose to dress up like this and take our weekends to do this. Those tents don't set themselves up. Those campers don't check themselves in. Those feasts don't make themselves, and those ingredients aren't delivered like medieval DoorDash. So it does take all of us to come together to create a community. And community is really what it's about. And there's no greater example than our royal courts. That's me, like Price is Right kind of situation. Come on down. You have hundreds of people just screaming their heads off for you. And they might not even know you, but they're doing so because they saw that you tried something new, much like what I'm doing now. This is super scary. But they're really proud of you for trying something. And so the SCA is about reinventing yourself, figuring out what your passions are and what you can do when you try something new. And so there's so much more I could tell you about the SCA, but I want to invite you to try it for yourself. Because it's not about pretending to be someone else. It's about seeing what you're capable of when you give yourself permission to explore. So you might find a version of yourself you didn't know existed, or you might find a family you didn't know existed. So yours in service, Lady Ilza.